Dum, dum, dum. Got a countdown. We are live, folks. Welcome to I Was There Man, our live stream Friday night with your hosts, Dave and Jerry, and our guest, very special guest tonight, Lou Pomanti, studio musician, producer, arranger, composer, musical director extraordinaire. Man's made an amazing living off music in the Toronto scene, and we're happy to have him come on and grace us tonight.
Thank you.
So first thing, how you doing, Lou? Friday night. How you feeling?
Well, I got a glass of wine. I mean, you know, doing an interview at 9 p.m. on a Friday night means I'm going to have a glass of wine with me. So these things usually happen at 9:30 in the morning, you know. So
I'm
doing great. I'm doing great.
We both walked away from radio school to you know, because we knew the 9 a.m. morning was no good for interviews.
Right.
So we got a little bit of housekeeping. I'm not sure if I ever actually worked with you, but in the 90s, I worked at Dave Audio, which was Sounds Interchange.
Of course.
And I know you spent many, many years there. And I know you mostly worked with the Einstein brothers, but I worked with Ted Rosnick and Steve McKinnon,
I didn't work with the Einstein brothers all that much. It was more Mickey Marr,
Mary Beth
and Mickey, and a lot of people, but not so much the Einsteins. With Rosnick, a lot in the early days.
Okay, yeah. So we've certainly worked with mutual people. I was there mid '90s ish, squirreled away in Studio 2 with the Neve console, and worked with some heavy cats. And then Jerry, I'll let him introduce himself a little bit, and then I'm gonna tee up a little bit, but go ahead, Jerry.
So I was in the same building, and Dave and I go back to the early 90s, just so you know our background, Lou. Met in radio school, best friends ever since. All the cool rock and roll, cool musical moments we ever had, we shared throughout our lives. And including working at Dome Audio Video. I ended up as Ernie Mordak's assistant upstairs in a fire suite. So doing visual effects and compositing and editing. So it was all part of the same world. In which case, we discovered you through that network of friends, right? Like, so, you know, the group is going out somewhere cool on a Saturday night. Where are we going to go? Hey, there's these studio cats that have a house band that we can go see.
That's it.
And we all got to go hang out at the Orbit Room. So I'd like to open the show by telling you one of my I Was There Man moments to kind of set the stage for what we're hoping to catch, which is like anecdotal, cool kind of moments. And it included the Orbit Room and you, my friend, playing there. So one night we go there for Dave's ex's birthday. We're a bunch of young assistants. We're tagging on. We know that there's scribes in the room, the old writers. We knew that there was like industry professionals that we got to tag along with to go to these places. The only table they could get us that night on that Saturday night where the Dexters are playing was up front, right squeezed up on top of the stage.
I got to clarify. Hang on. Time out. I got to clarify because it was my ex's birthday. I booked it and we showed up like 3 hours before the band came on because, you know, everybody and their dog showed up to the Orbit Room to see you guys, the Dexters, play because you blew the doors off the place. And so we got right up front and to the point where you guys, that particular night, Lawrence, I'm going to forget his last name. He was the guy in the video for Pink Floyd's Learning to Fly. Do you know that guy? He's a singer, tall guy, First Nations guy. Anyway, he was hitting on my
Lawrence Bain.
That's him. Yeah. So he's hitting, and so he was hitting on my ex, and then
that sounds like Lawrence. Yeah.
It was. I guess I was flattered, right? And it was one of the nights where Alex Lifeson showed up.
Yeah, you're giving my moment away, brother.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So all night, I'm sitting up front with this guy's ass in my face. And it's awesome. Like, we're being we're having drinks. It's a great time. The band's smoking that night and rocking it. And I got this guy's butt in my face, and I keep hearing, Al Dexter. You kept calling out, man, we're happy to have Al Dexter sit in with us tonight.
That's big Al Dexter.
And it wasn't until I got to the bar and turned around and saw him, and I went, God damn, is that Alex Lifeson? And to which point, this is how clueless I am as a 20-whatever-year-old, the person I'm with goes, yeah, he's the goddamn owner, man. So that was my I Was There Man moment. I had Alex Lifeson.
Was that one of the nights? Was that one of the nights that Alex played with us?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sat in the
he,
whole night.
After Neil had his tragedies, the guys didn't know if Rush was going to be back up ever again. So they looked for other things. So, Alex, was co-owner of the club with Tim Nodder, and he became the fifth Dexter, and he showed up every weekend for a year and a half.
Amazing, man.
Yeah. How long were you guys the house band?
10 years, from November 11th, 1994 till November 11th, 2004.
I got to tell you, this city was spoiled to have you, man. And it became my go-to place to bring a date, man. It was my classy date joint to bring, man.
We were the lube for many a guy getting lucky. Not so much for ourselves,
right? Yeah,
but seeing as we were all married. But I have friends that met their wives there, and certainly a lot of extracurricular stuff was going on.
It was definitely that particular night was one of the best nights of my life.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, probably the best night at the Orbit Room ever was. And sorry, this is throwing me off because the video that I'm seeing is not syncing up with your mouth, so it's weird. But
okay, that's on you. The broadcast is good, brother. So
yeah. No, it's my phone. But the night where I thought we were definitely going to cave in the floor and go into the dentist's office downstairs was the night that Getty showed up. Now guys flew in. Just because everybody knew that Alex played every weekend with us, people were flying in from South America, from Europe, from Australia. Because you know what Rush fans are like. They're rabid, right?
Diehard.
So the lure of seeing Alex Lifeson in a 110 seat club, it's not seats, it was all standing anyway, but was too much for these guys. But anyways, one of the nights, Alex actually got Ged to come. And I don't know if you remember, but our bass player, Pete Cardinelli, he plays a teardrop E bass because
shaved fender,
the horns had been shaved off, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a picture of Getty and Alex with our drummer, Greg, playing In the Mood at the Orbit Room. And Getty's playing Peter's teardrop bass. And the people, they lost their shit. Like they absolutely lost their minds. People were standing on the banquettes, they were standing on the tables, and I've never seen anything like it. And I really did think the floor was going to give up.
It's a great segue because this show called I Was There Man, we started off with these 3-minute vignette shorts where we would talk to people about their concert stories, and that's why we started this. We wanted to share concert stories. So you just shared a story. I'm sure every person that was at that room would have that as an I Was There Man story.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, we wanted to ask you, because you've done so many things. You've worked with so many incredible artists, so much talent, unbelievable. For you, growing up in Toronto, because what we're pivoting this show to do is we're going to start to compile stories to make it be an oral history, if you will, of music in the Toronto scene. Yeah. And so we were fortunate enough, Jerry and I, we went to radio college. We were taught and worked with this guy named Keith Elshaw, and he was a jock on CFNY back in the 70s. He would share all kinds of stories. It got us really interested. So for you, you're coming up, you're hitting 13, 14, 15 years of age. What's the music scene like in Toronto? Where are you going? Who are you seeing? Because I read that you started playing piano at 12. So I'm assuming by the time you're a teenager that you're full on locked into music.
I am. From 12 on, there was nothing else. But I didn't really start going to see the scene in Toronto till I was like 17. When I was 17, it was 1975. So I would start going to see bands like Joust, and I would go see Rough Trade, and I would see the Lisa Hart Band, and I would see all these local bands, because I didn't really start playing the club scene until I was 18. Okay. Now, when I was 18, the legal age of drinking was 18. So I was kind of lucky, so I was actually legal.
Toronto the good, huh?
Yeah, man.
So where were you? Was it Yorkville? Was this still the space?
No.
Because no.
No.
Was
Young?
it Queen
Young
West?
was still going?
No. It was the Jarvis House, long gone. It was the El Macombo. It was, I don't know. When I was a kid, man, I was a jazz freak, right? So I'm 15 years old, and me and my buddy are going to George's Spaghetti House at Dundas and Sherburne and going to see I saw Bill Evans in an empty Basin Street club on Queen Street in like 1976, 1977.
Wow.
There was so much music going on, man. I mean, there was like 10 of us in the club, and Bill Evans trio was playing. I mean, that's like mind blowing.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, did you ever get a chance?
I'll tell you what my first rock concert was.
Lay it on us.
Okay, my first rock concert. I'm 13 years old, and I make my dad take me to Ontario Place Forum to see Lighthouse. They had just come out with One Fine Morning, and I loved Lighthouse. I loved them because I was kind of a Blood, Sweat, and Tears Chicago Lighthouse horn band guy. I love Maynard Ferguson. As a kid, I loved the big bands and all that stuff, right? So yeah, Lighthouse was my first concert, and I've since become friends with all those guys. But
that's amazing, dude.
Yeah, man.
Like I was gonna say, you just name drop Blood, Sweat, and Tears, brother, and one of the first staples that you run into when we go to do our research on you.
Yeah.
Was that the first big break for you professionally, man?
No, it kind of goes like this. It kind of goes. I'm playing clubs with a band called Cue Ball and some shitty, just some shitty clubs and playing in blues bands and stuff like that when I'm 18 and 19. When I'm 20, I get a call from Patsy Gallant. You remember Patsy?
No.
From New York to LA. She was a big disco star. Okay. You guys are a little young. I bet you don't get that every day.
No. Not with these gray hairs, I don't know. No.
Yeah. But anyway, she was a big disco star. And I worked with her when I was 20 and 21. And then when I was 22 years old, I was doing a horrible gig that I hated. I was doing the Charlottetown Theater Festival in Prince Edward Island, and I was playing rehearsal piano on stage 2. It's like bottom of the barrel kind of a stuff, And I get a call from Caracas, Venezuela, from David Clayton Thomas saying, "How would you like to join Blood, Sweat, and Tears?" I said, "Yes." And a week later, I was in Portland, Oregon with them, and it started my lifelong collaborations with David Clayton Thomas.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
That's 7-8 years after Woodstock. Dave and I were just talking about that. Blood, Sweat, and Tears played Woodstock, man.
Yeah, which was 1969. The only problem with, the story about Woodstock was that the assistant director, who was Martin Scorsese on Woodstock, had the job of going around to all the managers of all the bands and getting them to sign a release because they were filming it where we might make a movie. And of course, everybody signed it except Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Oh. So that's why they're not in the movie. Now, Blood, Sweat, and Tears was the second highest paid act at Woodstock. Jimi Hendrix was the first, and BS&T was the second. Now, no one got paid. But on paper, they were the second highest. But they never were in the movie. So I think that really hurt them.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I remember I got turned on to 10 years after in the movie. I was a fiend for that movie when I was a kid. I had no idea who they were. I was, at the time into AC/DC and Iron Maiden, and then I see this Woodstock thing come on PBS, and I record it and watched it every day after school over and over again.
Well, it made Santana's career.
Yeah. Oh, right? Yeah.
Made
Absolutely.
them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll give you one more quick anecdote. This show's not supposed to be about me. It's supposed to be about Lou. But I got to hop in if we talk Woodstock. Because I have an I Was There Man moment that happened with the opener. I remember being young in Vegas, and this would have been a Vegas trip. My parents were gamblers.
Richie Havens was the opener?
Richie Havens came walking through the Bally's Casino.
Yeah.
In a dashiki.
Yeah.
with a stack of black chips that high in his hand and a big-haired, obvious working girl on his arm in 1990, whatever year it would have been. And I realized, wow, the hippies, man, they're still rock stars too, man. Like, he still gets to be a rock star. He opened Woodstock.
Yeah.
So in terms of, I know that you work, like, what's your favorite part of the work that you do that gives you the most satisfaction? Is it recording your own work? Is it producing other people? And part of that comes from, I was fortunate enough to do Mark Jordan's album. I worked with Mark and I worked with Amy Sky in the mid 90s. And it was, Mark's, I forget the album that I worked on with Mark. I'm gonna have to dig it up while you're answering, but just wanted to find out what, like, as a producer, as a performer, what's your favorite hat that you wear when you're doing this music thing you call
Well,
life?
look, it depends what era we're talking about. And, you know, the difference between being a musician in Toronto when I grew up and in New York or LA is that New York and LA are music scenes where people specialize in things. In Toronto, then it may be that now, but sorry, it may be that now, but in the era that I grew up in, we did everything. We did everything. So I started off as a player. Then I started writing, and then I became a session player. Then I started playing live. Then I started writing jingles, and then I started writing TV and film scores. Then I started making records. And it's like, I'm a little ADHD. When I say that, I mean I'm a lot ADHD. But I always enjoyed doing many, many different things. When I brought my son up, who is a professional keyboard player in Tokyo now, I made sure that he knew how to orchestrate, sing well enough to sing backups in a rock band, be an MD, know how to program synthesizers, know how to play the organ, you know, all these different things. And he's working steady.
Awesome.
But to ask me what my favorite thing is, all I can say is what my favorite thing is now, because it's making records. So about 10 years ago, I stopped being the guy for hire. It's like, what do you need? Well, call Lou, you know, and he'll charge you X and he'll do the job, you know, and it'll be great. I got burnt out on that, and I don't really do that anymore. Now I just work on passion projects, like my work with Mark Jordan. Like I feel very strongly connected to. We're just about to put out our third album, and working on my own music, either if it's for myself or with Robin Black, who's an artist that I've released about 30 singles with. So the last decade's been just making records.
It's great. No, I looked it up, and the album I worked on with Mark was "This Is How Men Cry."
Yeah,
and I mean, it's a great album, and it was engineered by a very dear friend of mine, Richard Benoit, and it was incredible. And then we worked on the Amy Sky's album. I think it won a Juno. Here's out of left field. Did you ever have a chance to work with Peter Appleyard?
Yeah, as a backup player. We used to do. I used to do a ton of television in the 80s when Variety was just, you know, breathing its last gasp. So we do all the award shows and we do the telethons, you know. And I remember a number of telethons where Peter Appleyard would come on with his vibes and play some funky little number, and we would back him up.
So one time in the studio, in Studio 2, he was hired to do a gig, and there was all these session musicians were around. I've had a full rock band. Peter walks in, and I knew him from Peter Appleyard Presents, the TV show, and it was like Moses parting of the sea. All the musicians got out of his way, and this guy, they basically, you know, we're not worthy, did one of those to him, and it was amazing because at the time I was the Pro Tools / assistant guy, so I just kind of hung out and said, "Oh, we're getting sounds, just keep playing," and he was warming up. It was incredible.
He was very talented.
So another.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luke. Go for it.
No, I was just going to say that, you know, I'm lucky enough that I'm of a certain age that when I was coming up, so I started my session work in 1983 when I was 25. And I just caught the last 6, 7, 8 years of the previous generation of guys. So I got to work with Jimmy Dale and Rob McConnell and Doug Riley and Guido Basso and Gina Mira and Tommy Ambrose and all those guys that I used to watch on the CBC play. And they're all in the Boss Brass, right? And I used to idolize these guys, and I was lucky enough that, like, I'm 25, they're like 50, right? And so I'd go to these sessions. Now, I'll explain to you why I got busy in the studios in 1983. Synthesizers had just become a thing, polyphonic synthesizers, right? Yep. And so all of the guys, all of the MDs, all of the important piano playing guys like Doug Riley, Jimmy Dale, Eric Robertson, all of those cats, all of their clients started to say to them, do you have a synthesizer on this gig? You got to have a synthesizer on this gig. Now, all these guys grew up in a world where they didn't know what a synthesizer was. So they hired me because I knew synthesizers and I was into them. So in a very rare turn of events, I got to apprentice, like, with all these mentors of the same instrument. So I get to work for all the top piano players in the 80s because they're not hip to synths. And to be perfectly honest, they're not interested. They just need a guy there that knows how to do it. And so I was that guy. Now, I barely do synthesizers anymore. I'm a piano and organ guy. But it was just a certain set of circumstances. And I mean, I learned from the best of those guys because, they were like my childhood idols, the Rob McConnells and the Guido Bassos and all those guys.
That's amazing.
They're almost all gone now.
Yeah, I was fortunate. We had in the studio I worked at, we had the Hammond B3 with the Leslie cab in our studio, and Doug Riley would come in. He was the man. If that thing was getting turned on, he was sitting behind it and just kind of it was incredible. I mean, and that's the thing. And Jerry worked with another guy that I believe you've worked with, right, Jerry? You're going to talk about that.
That's what I was going to lead into, man. I was very lucky when I was at a young age. We came out of radio school, again with Keith Elshaw, running a little broadcast studio at Yonge and St. Clair, teaching people how to do voiceovers and all this kind of stuff. But one of the things we did was he had a connection with Jeff, and he brought Jeff in, and Jeff's 78 record collection, which was huge, as he picked up records as he toured across the country. We were the first people to digitize these old 78s and then try to turn it into a syndicated radio show. I had experience with the CNIB. I was very fortunate. And what that meant was, hey, man, go meet Jeff at the bottom of the stairs, bring him in and record him on the first Pro Tools, one of the first ones in Toronto. So I was really lucky to cross paths with Jeff. I wanted to know, because I see Jeff on your resume, what was your connection with Jeff, another music legend in this country?
Are you talking about Jeff Healey?
Jeff Healey, sir.
Yeah. So Jeff was unbelievable. I mean, I worked with Jeff a number of times. I played on 2 of Jeff's albums, See the Light, and I can't think of the other one. Wow. They were all in the 80s, in the late 80s, and he was at the top of his game. Yeah. And I also worked with Jeff on a number of variety shows, like we used to do It's Always Something, the Big Gilda show at Princess of Wales. These were fundraisers, you know. Mm-hmm. And he was amazing. I got to tell you that when I did the records, when I did Jeff's 2 records, he was never there. It was me and the producer doing overdubs. I think Jeff checked in once. He stuck his head and said, "How's it going in here?" "Good." "Okay. Great. See ya."
Guitar players.
You know.
Amazing, man. Love it. Love it.
Well, that's, you know, I mean, working with the Mark Jordans of the world and all these Canadian musicians, was there any people that you maybe would have wanted to work with back in the day, or any connections you have back to the Yorkville days in Toronto? I know you obviously we've gone over that was before your time, but yeah, like Joni Mitchell's and Neil Young, and because I know there's one name, if I drop, I just saw you talk about him, was Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
Clearly have a strong connection. So is there any way you could talk a little bit about that? Because to bring it back to the whole Toronto scene. We want to make sure that we leave no stone unturned. We've got a couple of names we're going to be speaking with people that were heavily involved in the Yorkville scene. But if there's anything you have that can kind of connect the drama.
I got
right
lots.
now.
I mean,
Kathy
how much
Young.
time you got? I mean, I got Joni Mitchell stories. I got Gord Lightfoot stories. I got Leonard Cohen stories.
You recorded with
Where do I
Lightfoot
start?
later in life too, right?
Sorry?
You recorded with Lightfoot later in his career, correct?
Well, it was 1986. That's 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So he would have been. I mean, he was at the top of his game in 1986. I don't know if you've heard that story, but it's a hell of a story.
Do it. That's what we're here for. Lay it on us.
This is why you're here,
Okay, so it's 1986. I get a call from Gord Lightfoot's manager, Lou. We're in Eastern Sound, laying beds for 2 weeks. Would you like to come and play keyboards? And I had heard that Doug Riley had quit after the first day. And I didn't know why Doug Riley had quit, but I said, 2 sessions a day, double scale for 2 weeks. And he's a cultural icon. It's like, I'm in. I canceled everything. And we went in every day at Eastern in Yorkville for 2 weeks. So this is what would happen. And I soon realized why Doc quit. We'd all set up. So there's me, there's Mike Heffernan, his regular keyboard player, Tom Sesniak on bass, Barry Keane on drums, blah, blah, blah. Bob Mann on guitar, all the creme de la creme guys. And so in the morning, I don't know if you know this, but Gord went to music school and he knows how to write charts, which is very rare for a folk guy,
Yeah.
So we get there and we all sit at our instruments and Gord, he hands out all the charts and you'd run the song about 3 times and Gord would say, okay, hand in your charts. I'm going to make some changes. Go take 15 minutes. So we'd split for 15 minutes. We'd come back, Gord would be scribbling away, and we'd come back and he hands them all out. We'd run it another 3 or 4 times. Okay, hand it back in. Okay, great. And he scribbles again. We come back. Now, in the morning, you kind of run it and you tweak it, and then you come back in the afternoon, the 2 to 5 session. So we're about an hour into the session in the afternoon session. We've been running this song for 4 hours now, okay? And he goes, we play a take, and he goes, that was really good. That was really close. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, we do it again. He goes, it's almost there, guys. It's almost there. Let's try it again. We do it the 3rd time in the afternoon, and he goes, guys, that was perfect. Let's try it again. And it was at that point that I realized that Gord had just quit drinking. And as long as Gord was in the studio working on his album, he wasn't drinking. And so we were not only session musicians, but we were therapists too. And Doug Riley can't stand that shit. So that's why Doug quit. And he told me later, he says, I can't play the same fucking song for 6 hours. But he said, I played it right the first time. Why the fuck do I have to play it for 6 hours? So that was, there were some hits on that record and it was really great. But there's a complex guy.
Amazing. That's good. That's I Was There, Man.
Did you get on the road with them? And
no, never.
No, just you're at that time studio guy. It was fascinating because there was so much talent in Toronto, and I did spend a little bit of time living in LA and going out to place like the Baked Potato where all the session guys show up there, right? And it's a whole other caliber, but it's in a way it's not, because what was asked of people like yourself in Toronto to move quickly and to get things done expeditiously under the gun through a lot of it was at least in the 90s, what was paying the bills for musicians in Toronto was jingles, commercials, maybe not jingles, but commercials. And so, it was, I always felt so fortunate.
And the 70s and the 80s.
And that's what made it different, right? That's what, Toronto was always seen as a commercial hotbed. Whereas LA was more music, Nashville was more music, and say Vancouver was more TV and film. Was that the way it kind of always was?
Chicago was the center of jingles for the States.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well,
I was gonna say. I remember. Last thing I'll leave you with. I remember Ernie's Suite. We were charging $1,000 an hour back in that day. People to sit on a $20,000 couch, man. Like, literally.
I know.
You know,
there was nothing but money. But let's not forget that the 80s were the time when everybody was rebuying their entire vinyl catalog on CD in the late 80s and the early 90s. There was nothing but money. Like, dumb rock bands would get signed to a major label in Toronto, and they'd book in to Phase One studio for a month or 6 weeks.
Right.
So that they could experiment. Well, that certainly doesn't happen anymore.
No.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So there's two things. I think we've hit a half an hour, Lou, and out of respect for time. Two things. One is, can you give us "My Name Is Lou and I Was There, Man"? Number one, and number two, we'd love to be able to reach out to you, and maybe you've got other people we could chat with to try and bring this whole Toronto thing together.
We've been asking guests if we could for 3 names. If you enjoyed your experience with us and like being on the show, man, we got something good. If we could follow up and get a couple names out of you and people that you think would either be good on the show or have a good story to tell or good storytellers themselves, man, let us know. Please, Lou. Thank you.
And I could come back and tell you about Leonard and Joni and all that stuff,
We'd love to have you.
Please do, brother. And just let's squeeze this in there while we're still live. We love your podcast, brother.
Yeah, amazing.
Well done.
Thank you.
Check it out.
It's brand new. I'm still learning, but it's growing.
Where's the best place for people to find it?
Yeah.
Insta now. Insta.
Insta?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So if you'd be so kind as to give us, I'm Lou and I was there, man.
Okay. I'm Lou Pomanti and I was there, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Really
sir, for
appreciate your
gracing
time.
us. Totally appreciate.
Cool.
Thank you, sir. We'll
Great.
reach out. We're going to post this up. We'll let you know. We'll send you links. We'll share everything with you on the socials, man. Thank you, sir.
Thank
you.
you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, man.